Greenberg and Pavio see the therapeutic relationship as a space in which the client can reprocess and restructure emotional memories and develop a more integrated sense of self. The experiential activities during working with emotions workshops have allowed me to understand how emotion might be expressed in the different arts modalities. At times, this experience was very frustrating, to be put in the position of working with a material that I had no skill in, a situation many clients find themselves in. This left me with a sense of vulnerability. From the workshops, I was left with an appreciation of how emotions can ebb and flow. To me, this seems to model everyday emotion mirrored in a therapeutic situation. In this way, symbolisation of emotion can provide a safe distance that prevents the person from feeling overwhelmed or acting out, and can help transform these emotions. The therapist can also take on and then drip feed back difficult emotions. Therapy can be a space to look at what's behind them, to know that they will not be rejected. Greenberg and Pavio note how engaging in these tasks is often aided by another's empathic attunement to our feelings, and the lack of emotionally meaningful interpersonal attachment experiences in early childhood can leave individuals struggling to regulate emotional arousal in this way. The experience in dramatherapy of sculpts also highlighted for me the polarities involved in everyday emotional interaction, the effect upon others, and how reactive emotions can be. Again, the mirroring of this in the therapeutic situation is interesting. Some clients may also bottle up their emotions in everyday life, and so therapy may give them a space to start showing them more openly, avoiding them becoming embodied or being acted out. Exploring, expressing and analysing my own emotions through the workshops was an important part of the learning experience for me. In play therapy, the different sensory materials helped me to experience the different emotions. The affect of the material was similar perhaps to the vitality affects we think about in art therapy. When playing with sand, I can lose myself in watching how it flows through my hands. It makes me feel calm, and I almost lose a sense of others around me or noises. There is also something regressive about playing with the sand. It doesn't have to be anything, it's just a material and I can stay with it. In drama therapy, I was able to explore how my emotions were expressed naturally in reaction to different situations. Greenberg and Pavio note that emotions can provide a rich source of information about our reactions to situations. In a sculpt activity, we had to react on the spot to an initial action from someone else and then freeze. This helped me to make sense of the different layers of emotion and how it could become less or more intense as held. Enacting them in some ways also allowed me to let myself really get in touch with it and how it's to be in that moment or to sit with that emotion, and I can correlate this to everyday experience as well. In dance movement psychotherapy, the medium of movement was used to explore emotions. I felt very rejected when others didn't recognise the emotion I'd been given to express, which was joy. This emphasised for me how upsetting it can be for someone to misread your expression of emotion, and related to the idea of there being no judgment in a therapeutic relationship. I struggled to identify with being given the emotion of joy. I felt in some ways that it was not as complex as those most peers had, not as worthy somehow. Upon personal reflection, I think that perhaps I don't allow myself to connect with it much as an emotion. There's a sense of shame attached to the idea of my expressing or feeling joyful, which possibly stems from an aspect of my personality which is quite self-punishing. For me, there's also an interesting parallel here with the idea that joy is perhaps an emotion which has not come across much in clinical work, as clients will often come with negative rather than positive emotions, but perhaps the way in which we experience positive emotions is in danger of being overlooked. I was also aware during the dance workshop of wanting more privacy. This made me think of the way that in art therapy, the client can hide their image, but here the movement was in front of everyone and felt more exposed. This fed into thoughts for me about different modalities perhaps being more suitable for different client groups. Nelson suggests that culturally hidden in the idea of becoming strong and powerful is the value that being emotionless is good, and I also wondered if my wanting my emotion to be private might come from family values. My thoughts stemming from the workshops also informing my thinking around working safely with clients' expressions of emotion. Greenson describes transference and countertransference as the unconscious impact that the therapist and client have on each other. Being aware of our own connections to certain emotions and how we experience them will also help to read the countertransference and how we react within the therapy session and indeed outside of it. Appreciating how important it is to accept and not judge emotion and expression, and recognising that emotion, experience and expression can stem from different states of mind. To not assume you understand how someone will experience something, as actually it can be tied up in their individual lived experience. On coming back to our modality of art in the final workshop, I made an image of a figure walking into a vortex. For me, this symbolises the sense of walking into the unknown which I experienced during the workshops, and also perhaps a type of journey. On reflecting on the process of making this article, I also noticed how much more powerful my own words seem to me when set to images and sounds, which for me can parallel the idea of amplification by reflection and mirroring that perhaps may be seen in the therapeutic relationship as well.